All right, Alan, it's time. Let's talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. This is spoiler territory. We are talking spoilers. But before we do that, I have a very special message. You know, this is the season of giving, and I have a very special message that I want everybody to see right now. This is very important. We're going through a lot of tough times, and I think it's important that everybody just absorb this message.
Hello, I'm Chris Gore. You know, as a lifelong moviegoer and film geek, I want to talk to you about something that's important to everyone who holds the cinematic experience so precious. Kids everywhere are totally missing out, but now you can help. For your contribution of just $25, one child will be able to see one 3D movie. Won't you give? Life isn't 3D. Shouldn't children be able to see movies in 3D? But 3D movies are expensive. I mean, I'm on TV or cable TV, and it's expensive even for me. I can't imagine what it's like for kids who have no jobs. You know, children come into this world with two eyes meant to see movies in 3D, not 2D. Please contribute. Go to 3dfor2eyedkids.com. Your contribution of $25 will help a child see a 3D movie. And thanks for listening.
All right. I need to point out that video was made when the first Avatar came out. And thank you, Glanuccio, for your amazing editing skills, fixing it. The music is perfect. Look, it's still $25 to see a movie like if you want to see a movie in IMAX 3D, it's $25. At least the price is around the same. But yeah, I thought that you would. I thought you'd enjoy that. But let's talk about it, Alan.
Or was that something different?
No, this was right when the first Avatar came out. I made that video.
Okay.
So at least my hair is the same. But that was probably 20 pounds ago. So, but let's talk about Avatar: The Way of Water spoiler review. Like a lot of other people who've seen this movie, I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. The fact that the film is based in traditional family values with a strong father, it's funny how much that stood out because we haven't seen that in a movie. It's usually fathers, or in particular men, are mocked and emasculated at the movies. This was not the case. And the story of Jake Sully and Neytiri protecting their family is one that's incredibly relatable. I love the fact that so many aspects of this movie are relatable. A father trying to protect his family, things like feeling like an outcast when you're moving to a new neighborhood, young love, wanting to impress your friends, bullying. Much of the movie leans into the story of the kids. The kids are sort of the focus of this more than anything, even though it is Jake Sully's story. And I like that the film sets up another movie. It sets up the third movie. It sets up all the conflicts for what will be the next film. And I actually care what happens in the next film. I didn't necessarily feel that way. The first Avatar kind of wrapped everything up neatly with a bow and didn't really require a sequel. Now I really want to see the continuing story. I never thought that I would feel these things, but I have some beefs. I have some problems with the film. In particular, let's talk about the character of Miles, or Spider. He's basically, I pointed out, he looks like Chaka from Land of the Lost. And we're just gonna bounce around and talk spoilers here. So either you're one of three types of people watching this right now. One, you saw the movie, loved it, and you want to talk about it. You saw the movie, hated it, and you want to talk about it. You didn't see the movie and don't care. So if you're in any of those three groups, we're full spoilers now. Here's a big, I'm just going to point out some things that didn't work. And then Alan, I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
One big thing with this character, Spider, Spider's kind of a pivotal character. And it's interesting to see, you know, when you saw the Colonel, who's now an Avatar, Colonel, what's his name again, Alan?
Quaritch. Colonel Quaritch.
Yeah, Colonel Quaritch. When you see him, at first he just doesn't he doesn't care about this kid. He's an asset to be exploited, right? Like the resources of Pandora. But at the end, there's a standoff where, you know, Quaritch is put in a position where, you know, his son might be killed, and he actually backs down. He actually shows some feeling for this person who's a connection. It's effectively the son of the original, the human version of the Colonel Quaritch. So he backs off. I think that the movie would be that character just annoyed the hell out of me. Sort of like this sidekick who is he supposed to be comic relief? I just thought he just didn't work at all. The other thing that was really annoying is the movie ends, conflicts are resolved, and Spider goes to live with the Na'vi. Isn't that oxygen mask going to run out of oxygen? Had they, you know, like they even make a point, like, you know, hey, you know, I can't survive in your air for very long. You can like survive for hours in Earth air, in an Earth atmosphere, which I think kind of sets up something interesting for the third film. And I want to talk about spoilers here. We'll talk about speculation of what may happen in the next Avatar movie. But did that not annoy you?
No, because they're still connected with the science lab, and he's going to get his oxygen that way. And so,
how long does it last?
That didn't bother me, because there's a simple explanation for it.
Well, it just bothered me because they just went through this whole ordeal. Spider goes with them. He's got the oxygen mask. Yeah. It's going to run out. I mean, that was kind of a thing in the last movie.
Well, I mean, firstly, there are packs you can carry. And second, there is a supply that he can get to. Because I believe he's always been living with them. And then he goes back to the lab to get his oxygen. You know, that's... To me, that's just kind of a minor thing. That didn't bother me at all.
Well, it did bother me. It bothered me a lot. So, Alan, you saw the movie a second time with your daughter. And your daughter, I believe, your daughter's the demographic for this movie.
Yes, she is. She admitted that. She said this is definitely for her age range.
Yeah.
And she hated the movie.
She did? What did she say?
I think she said she would rather watch Black Panther again than watch Avatar 2. But I think that speaks a lot to her tastes in movies. She likes movies that are a little bit darker. I mean, she wants to see the menu again. And so that's kind of where her mind frame is at. And but you know, I know things are in trouble when we're 30 minutes in and she goes, how much longer is this movie gonna go? The length really got to her. And I mean, honestly, she didn't lighten up in this movie until that final battle scene. And so it was like, yeah, you know, this final battle scene, there's a long wait to get there. And that's really when the adrenaline of this movie kicks in. You know, I think I mentioned it on Wednesday. For my personal opinion about the movie is, I found it refreshing for the reasons you brought up. The fact that it is a straightforward story about family, and that there's no nonsense woven into that. I mean, you know, James Cameron has always had a liberal, semi-progressive stance in all his movies. This one certainly has it, but it's not annoying in any way. And you know, and I think, you know, I mean, the way I see the future of this movie is Avatar 2, The Way of Water, is the Phantom Menace of the trilogy. You know, it was only in the sense that Phantom Menace was meant for kids. You know, and that's why Anakin was so young. He had the pod race and Jar Jar to appeal to the children. Well, and I think that's what this movie is. And I think the next two is when it's going to skew more adult and going to skew darker. That's at least my hope for the series. And based on the story and how it played out, I think that's where we're headed. You know, Quaritch is going to be interesting to see where his character continues. And, you know, and then there's this whole mystery behind Kiri, or as we kept thinking was Kitty, played by Sigourney Weaver. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that character as well.
Well, yeah, I think that her character is really important. Her connection to Awa and her sort of newfound abilities to be able to channel that energy. It's
She's an Aquaman, basically.
She's basically Aqua Woman, yeah,
Aqua Woman,
for sure.
yeah.
But look, I am interested to see where it goes next, because they kind of produce. It's okay. Derek Douglas is. Google it, Chris. It's not an oxygen mask. It's a filtration mask. Is that what it is? All right. Fine. I stand corrected. But don't you?
Yeah, because the mask is different with the avatars when they're in the human areas.
Well, yes, but don't the filters run out? I mean, it's not, you can't just like have.
Well, yeah, no, the filters do run out. They he gets warned early on that you're gonna run out of your filter, and that he needed to carry a second one. And
yeah,
that kind of happened in the beginning.
Okay, Derek, yes. So Alan's backing me up here. Like, you can't just it doesn't just run forever, you know?
Yeah. It
doesn't run forever. You're going to need some maintenance. All right, fine. They go to the humans and they get more filters.
I can't believe this has bothered you. This whole movie.
It did bother. I like things kind of tied up neat with a bow. I need it.
The filtration map. Yeah.
Yeah. But look, the thing is this, the dialogue did still bother me, you know, just because it seems just kind of cheesy. I think a lot of it is because they spent time with kids. They used words like bitch. I guess you could say that like some of the Earth terms have made it now to Pandora. But who knows? You know, they kind of like do this thing where they're speaking in Na'vi, then they sort of like they then start speaking English. My assumption is they're still speaking in Na'vi, but just for the purposes of not having it.
Yeah. Well, that was brought up as well. When Jake was narrating, he said, "I've grown so accustomed to Na'vi that it feels like English." And at that moment, it switches to English.
It switches. Yeah. So they kind of make a point you know, that just assume they're all speaking in their native tongue, but just for the purposes of, you know, being able to like look at the visuals. So
yeah. Well, again, regarding the dialogue, I was definitely not bothered by the dialogue, and I think a lot of that has to do with having watched Kenobi and Rings of Power, and know what bad dialogue sounds like. You know, I think I'm okay with you know, the kind of the base language that, you know, the base language of this movie.
Yeah. But I also, the thing that was annoying, we've gone through this whole movie and there is really, you know, the lead characters, the protagonists, Jake Sully and his family hadn't suffered any sort of consequences. And, you know, when they lost their eldest son, they were effectively just a gunshot wound, right? A gunshot wound, and he's dead. I'm glad. I just like it. It made sense to me. It made a lot of sense to me that sacrifice had to happen to finally go, okay, there's a cost to this war. There's a cost. Had everyone just survived and it would have just been a happy ending, I don't think it would have been as effective. Alan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Yeah, this is one of those times where a death makes sense. You know, a death propels this family's story arc further. And I think that's another thing I like about this movie is the story arc. The fact that, you know, this movie is about, you know, Jake protecting his family, and the only way he could protect his family was to run and hide. And I think that is the perfect setup for what the next movie is going to be.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be running and hide. I think he's going to be much more proactively uniting all the different quote types of Na'vi tribes, all the tribes, try to unite the tribes again, because here's what's going to happen. We know there was a really interesting time jump between the first Avatar and the second, right? So that now he's got a grown family, grown kids and a family. I think there'll be another time jump. You may see his, you know, youngest son now as an adult in the next film. You might even see grandkids, who knows? where it'll go. But I think there'll be another time jump. I think Earth will be a big part of it. I think you're going to see that city be much larger. There's going to be a much larger colony on Pandora as Earth begins to transfer people from what's left of Earth. I think you have to show Earth. You can't keep talking about it. You know, they kind of showed Earth a little bit, but it was in deleted scenes. In the first Avatar, there were deleted scenes that were set on Earth. If you saw did you ever watch the?
No, I didn't see it
extras on the Blu-ray.
No.
Anyways, yeah, I think you kind of have to show Earth. You have to show like what is the state of what's happening on Earth. Someone speculated that there might be people on Earth that are activists that are somehow sympathetic to the Na'vi. I really hope they don't show that or go down that road. I think that would be annoying and maybe like too familiar with, you know, our current day politics. So I'm really hoping they don't go that route.